Max Verstappen is getting more and more infuriated as the race weekends pass by and feels something has gone majorly wrong with Red Bull's development, causing balance issues in his 2024 Formula One car. Not only that, he's now also deliberately slowing down during the race to prove a point to Red Bull. Is their reign of supremacy finally over, and are the cracks in the once so successful relationship starting to show? Verstappen and Red Bull were the best of the field early in the season, but a commanding victory by McLaren's Lando Norris in the Dutch Grand Prix demonstrated that the Woking outfit has since surpassed Red Bull as the quickest team on the grid. Red Bull's campaign started to slide in May, as it experienced a series of bumpier tracks, with the Monaco Grand Prix serving as a particularly difficult challenge. However, rather than a single weakness over bumps and curbs, Verstappen claims that subsequent races have progressively revealed other challenges in maintaining the car's balance, which had previously been a Red Bull strength. This looks to have reduced the RB20's speed while also affecting tyre wear. It wasn't there in the first few races, but something in the car has made it more difficult to drive, Verstappen stated after finishing 22 seconds behind Norris in second place in Zandvoort, his first home race defeat. It's very hard to pinpoint where that is coming from at the moment. And that is then hurting, of course, our one-lap performance, but also our long run. The whole weekend has been the same limitations. I had pretty much the same balance from FP1 all the way to the race, so it's just very hard to solve at the moment. It just seems like we are too slow, but also quite bad on degradation at the moment. That's a bit weird because I think the last few years normally we've been quite good on that. So, something has been going wrong lately with the car that we need to understand and we need to quickly try to improve. It's just not a connected balance, front or rear. Verstappen passed pole sitter Norris at the start after a sluggish start for the Briton, but Norris breezed past on lap 18 to clinch his second career victory as the Dutchman felt his vehicle was becoming less sensitive to his inputs. "I was just doing my own race, looking after the tyres. I tried to do the best I could," said the driver. But at one point, nothing was turning or responding anymore. So then Lando got quite close the first time. Like he said, he was close but not close enough. And then the next lap, there was nothing that I could do. So once he passed, I just focused on doing my race, tried to bring it to the end in second. Verstappen leads Norris in the driver's title by 70 points going into this weekend's Italian Grand Prix at Monza, but McLaren is closing in on Red Bull in the constructors' standings with only 30 points separating the two teams. And for the very first time in probably 3 years, Red Bull team boss Christian Horner also admits that his team has an issue and must improve to counter the McLaren danger. The Milton Keynes team has gone 5 rounds without a win, and Max Verstappen admits its form is alarming after McLaren's Lando Norris won the Dutch Grand Prix by more than 20 seconds. Speaking in the post-race press conference at Zandvoort, Verstappen said, "This weekend was just a bad weekend in general, so we need to understand that. But the last few races already, they haven't really been fantastic, so that, in a sense, was already a bit alarming. But we know that we don't need to panic. We are just trying to improve the situation. And that's what we're working on, but F1 is very complicated." Horner echoed Verstappen's warning not to worry, hailing McLaren's revival but admitting his team still has to improve. He said, "Based on the performance, if it was like that at the next 9 races, yes, it would be very, very difficult. But it's the 4th time this year, only the 4th time, that Max's points lead had reduced. It's only Lando's second win. But we know we have to find performance. So, we were 78 points, now we're 70 ahead. We want to make sure that we extend the lead, not see it continuously diminish. Obviously, they made a step a little while ago, and their car here, particularly with Lando, was very impressive. So, we need to understand where and address our deficit." Horner also stated that McLaren's progress, along with his team's downturn in form, demonstrated the nature of Formula One and how rapidly the tables can shift. He added, "Well, it just shows that things have moved very quickly. I mean, we were winning races by 25 seconds. And Stefano Domenicali, F1 CEO, was asking us to slow down in the first 5 races. It can change very quickly, and that means it can change back the other way as well. We know we've got an issue. You can hear that Max didn't feel that the car was responding to what he wanted. We've obviously got to be able to manifest that into a setup that works these tyres across all conditions. McLaren did that with Lando. We weren't able to, but we limited the damage by, if you can't win it, finish second. But when asked by media if he is now worried that Norris can catch Verstappen for the Drivers' Championship, Horner replied, "Based on today's performance, if it's like that at the next 9 races, yes, it would be very, very difficult." While such a sweeping loss is unpleasant, Horner stated that Norris and McLaren's performance did not scare Red Bull, but rather focuses the mind on the need to find a reaction. Asked if we may now see more of Verstappen driving with defending of the title in mind, Horner responded, "I think that you've got to drive with the championship in mind. There's been 7 different race winners this year, so if you can't win, then you've got to be scoring the points. Obviously, it's not nice to be beaten by 22 seconds, but it just shows when you get things right and your car in the window, as we saw earlier in the year, that kind of result is possible. So it doesn't scare us in any way, it just focuses the mind that, okay, we need to turn this around and we need to get it right." I think that McLaren obviously made a step a little while ago, and their car here, particularly with Lando, was very impressive, very impressive. So, we need to understand where and address our deficit. However, all was not that bad, at least according to Martin Brundle, who has lifted the real details about that big gap. He doesn't believe Max Verstappen was genuinely 23 seconds slower than Lando Norris at the Dutch Grand Prix. He believes a message was delivered to Red Bull instead. It left Red Bull team principal Christian Horner declaring that lessons had been learnt, as Red Bull started about attempting to figure out how to reduce such a deficit. "We need to understand where the deficit is," he said on Sky F1. "I think we've learned quite a lot this weekend, but you can see the pace that they had at this track was outstanding. So, we need to obviously understand how we can improve performance on our..." However, Sky F1 analyst Brundle does not believe Verstappen was genuinely 23 seconds slower than Norris throughout the Dutch GP racecourse. Instead, with McLaren shining in the F1 2024 development fight and Red Bull's supremacy fading, Brundle believes Verstappen eased off to send a hurry up to the Red Bull facility to change the tide. Asked what those learning mentioned by Horner will be, Brundle replied, "I'm going to guess about car setup and strategies and all the normal things about going racing. I would hazard a guess that that was not as fast as Max could go. He knew he couldn't beat Lando, and dropping back a bit like that, it's going to give the factory a hurry up, isn't it? I'd be pretty sure of that." Fellow Sky F1 pundit Naomi Schiff urged Red Bull to address the RB20's issues, arguing that a more disrupted race weekend, such as the one at Zandvoort with rain-soaked practice sessions and a chunk of FP3 lost due to Logan Sargent's fiery crash, makes it more difficult for Red Bull to find that sweet spot. They have a car at the moment that isn't just smooth sailing, as it has been in the past, Schiff said. And they have to get on top of that, because when a weekend like this comes along and you have curtailed sessions, or rainy sessions as Martin says, it's tougher for them to get the setup in the sweet spot, and then they lose out, and they lost out quite a lot when it comes to pace. Norris's victory marks the first time Verstappen has failed to win the Dutch Grand Prix since it returned to the F1 calendar in 2021. And with them being this good right now, it's hard to see Verstappen winning a race again anytime soon, especially with tracks like Baku and Singapore coming up, tracks where Red Bull always struggle. What do you think? Was Verstappen sending out a message? And will they even be able to close the gap anytime soon like Horner is suggesting? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.